up, guys? It's your John back with another video. In this video, we're going to be reacting to the James Harden trade to the Brooklyn Nets. So, I don't think this was far-fetched. I think everyone knew something like this was going to come, whether it was to the Sixers or the Nets. I honestly knew it was going to be the Nets because, first of all, James Harden wanted to go to the Nets more than the Sixers. Sixers was more like a backup option. Plus, there's no way the Rockets are going to give a chance for Harden and Daryl Morey to win a championship, on the same team. There's no way. So, pretty much, this was a huge deal, obviously. It's going to shake the NBA, and it really changed a lot of expectations for the Nets. So, for the Nets, I kind of, before this obviously happened, because from what I was looking at in this situation is, at the start of the season, I really thought Harden was going to get traded, but then the Rockets looked like they didn't really want that trade to happen because they just wanted to keep Harden until a little bit later, and they felt more comfortable trading him. But Harden kind of forced his way out because his value was just lowering and lowering, like as the season continued, because he kept complaining about the team, kept saying that the team wasn't a championship-worthy team. He kept saying that he didn't even want to be on the team. So the Rockets were clearly in indecision about whether to trade him or not, and I feel like last night's statements about the Rockets just really put it over the top, and they just traded him. So it makes sense. So I think the deal, it was a 4-team deal from what it obviously shows on the screen, but it's a 4-team deal with the Rockets, the Pacers, the Nets, and the Cavs. So the Cavs don't really get anything out of this. I think they get rid of Dante Exum to the Rockets. The Rockets also receive Oladipo. They also receive Kurucs, and they get 3 first-round picks, I think. The Nets obviously get Harden and a second. The Pacers get Caris LeVert. I'm not really sure about what picks they get, but I know they get Caris LeVert. And then the Cavs get Jared Allen. So pretty much it's a very interesting trade, but in this video we're obviously going to react to this little video just to get like the specific of the trade. But rather than talking about just what the implications for the Brooklyn Nets, because we all know that there's going to be major implications for the Brooklyn Nets, this makes them into a contending for the East to for sure championship contender. Because, there are other teams in the East that are performing well, such as the 76ers, the Celtics, and also, like, if you want to include, like, teams like the Hawks, stuff like that. But then, now with Harden, you have 3 superstars in, pretty much. So, there's no excuse for the Nets at this point not to make the championship. If they don't, it's a bust season for them. So, let's just get right into the video. But this is kind of crazy.
First, guys, I am thrilled to be on this show. You guys know how much I love watching you guys. But listen, this is a massive deal all over.
Let me turn up audio a little bit.
Listen,
all right,
for
back.
The Brooklyn Nets to go out and get James Harden, this was something that Kevin Durant very much wanted. He and Harden started talking about this months ago. And listen, with the uncertainty surrounding Kyrie Irving right now, and I think there's still hope, expectation, he returns and plays for this team. Remember, free agency comes back upon you pretty quick in this league. Kevin Durant's in the second year.
Personally, what I thought is Harden just never gave this Rockets team a chance. They're actually pretty solid, but he just never gave an effort. Like, in the last couple of games, he only attempted, 5 free throws? So he didn't even give an effort in the last multiple games. So he didn't even want it. And obviously he gained a ton of weight on purpose to get out of there. He looks like an uncle now.
If you get Irving back, and
this dude is fat now.
Playing at a high level, you have a 1-2-3, perhaps unlike we've seen in this league in the modern era, but certainly it comes at a steep price. 4 first-round picks, 4 pick swaps. The picks are unprotected. One of those picks is coming from Cleveland. This is part of a 3-way deal, really a 4-way deal. Caris LeVert goes from the Nets to the Indiana Pacers, and Indiana sends Victor Oladipo to Houston. So
I actually think a lot of Pacers fans might think this is like directly making them worse. I honestly think this can make them a lot better, because not only is Caris LeVert already production, like he's already going to produce. In my opinion, right now he's better than Victor Oladipo. Obviously, LeVert's never went to an All-Star game. Oladipo's been an All-Star. He's but he's more of like Oladipo is a more certified player in the NBA. But then Caris LeVert, he can go far. He can make this like really something like, and I think he's a really good player. He on a team if he actually gets starting minutes and he's actually given the ball, to prosper and do well. I feel like he can easily average 20 points a game. This dude can score the ball. So I honestly think this is a great trade for the Pacers. Obviously the exchange of Oladipo for LeVert. I think that was actually great for the Pacers because I think we all knew Oladipo's time in Indiana was coming up to a kind of up because he was kind of complaining about in Indiana too.
Other than just James Harden joining the Nets.
Well, I think this was a deal really that came together in the last couple days, and Philadelphia was very much in pursuit of James Harden. Obviously, Daryl Morey, their president, traded for him in Houston, won a great deal with him. But ultimately, this Nets deal, this package, bringing Cleveland into it, got it done. And I think for Houston, you look at them, remember, they gave up a lot of picks in that Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook deal. They get them back and then some, and it gives the Rockets now, their new GM, Rafael Stone, an ability to start a rebuild. Victor Oladipo's in the last year of his contract. They can see how that goes.
Yeah, because realistically, I don't really know if Victor Oladipo is going to re-sign with the team. But pretty much the big thing is Houston now has a chance to rebuild because they got three, as Waj said, three unprotected firsts. So that's actually huge.
Do they want to re-sign him? Does he want it?
Pretty much for anyone that doesn't know what unprotected means, it pretty much means that no matter what pick, since it's like a swap, so
it is going to be
no matter
to see
like
Harden
what pick the Nets end up getting, the Rockets will get that pick, like all cases, even if it's like a top 10 pick or top 3 or top 5.
You would expect at some point as part of that mix too.
Wow. As all this was coming down, Woj, on your Twitter, it was like looking around like, wow, what else is going to be added to this? But just to recap for everybody.
Yeah, that's pretty much the video. But pretty much I think, like, we all know what the implications are for the Nets again. But I think there's actually, for the Cleveland Cavaliers, I'm not really sure what they got out of this trade. But I know they 100% got Jarrett Allen, so I don't really know what the purpose of Jarrett Allen is for the Cleveland Cavaliers because they already got a rebounder plus defender in Andre Drummond. So I guess he kind of brings a little bit more paint protection than Drummond does, but overall I don't really understand what the point of Jarrett Allen would be in Cleveland. But pretty much I really like the Caris LeVert trade to Indiana. I think Indiana was all like, oh yeah, guys, I don't think I'm going to make a video reacting to the Indiana game. I think I'm just going to make a direct video reacting to the Nuggets game. But I might still. But pretty much, that Indiana team looks solid. Sabonis, Miles Turner, great in the paint. Then you got Brogdon, who could shoot. Is pretty much doing everything this season. Adding just a pure scorer on the team will be a really good move. And obviously, Oladipo with his injury, he's not the same Oladipo. Plus, he was on the last year of his contract, so he's probably gone next year. I'm not really sure about the Caris LeVert contract, but I know Caris LeVert, solid player. I think he'd probably re-sign. And then for the Rockets, I think what they did was really good too because obviously picking up Victor Oladipo doesn't have much presence to it as Oladipo is a really good player, but this is the last year of his contract, and realistically, he might just re-sign somewhere else. He has freedom to go anywhere he wants. But then they got a ton of picks. I think they got 3 firsts unprotected, obviously, and I feel like a couple more picks. And that's huge for them because they can now rebuild the team. And I feel like there's really no point in keeping John Wall for the long term because I feel like the only reason the Rockets were willing to keep John Wall or get a player of his caliber was to appeal to Harden, but it really didn't do anything for Harden. And the whole reason the Rockets picked up Boogie Cousins was to appeal to Harden, but it really didn't convince him. So there's really no point of these players anymore, and they're great trade pieces in the future. Like, you could trade Wall for someone who's pretty mid, and also that you got Exum. Exum's a good presence off the bench, but again, I don't think this Rockets team is going to be very different in the future. I think realistically the only person I'd keep on that Rockets team is Christian Wood. I think he's a young, talented player who has a lot of future potential. If he can build up his post game, it'll be really good, but I think there's really no point in keeping any of these Rockets players because they're all kind of on the older side, plus they're not going to develop, and they're not really going to help a future team 3 to 4 years from now. And I think Wall, as good as he is, it'd be really good if you just traded him for like a couple firsts and some other player. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, I feel like the Rockets can go into like an OKC type rebuild where just get as many picks as possible to just get future rebuilds. I would not be surprised if the Rockets made some future moves in this midseason deadline and also the this offseason because they really are in more of a rebuild mode now. Obviously, with Harden gone, it's officially rebuild. I think they got good value out of him. 3 firsts, that's solid. But I'm not really sure what this means for. Like, obviously, this makes the Rockets immediately worse. Duh. Like, pretty much in a trade, the immediate winner is whoever gets the best player. So the Nets are obviously the immediate winner. Then I feel like it's probably the Pacers. Then I feel like it's the Rockets. Then I feel like it's the Cavs. So the Rockets in a rebuilding mode. Who knows who the immediate winner is going to be in the future? Hey, maybe the Nets won't even make the championship because with the Kyrie Irving drama, I'm really not sure what's happening in that locker room. Kyrie Irving, obviously, for some reason, he doesn't want to play. Kyrie Irving, that's like a different topic, but I feel like his immaturity is kind of holding him back because he could be such a great player, but he just decides to be immature and just not speak to the media, all this stuff, and it's just kind of like you got to be a little bit more, mature than that, and it's part of your contract to play these games, and I understand that like you want to, deal with these social justice issues, which I feel like is 100% go do that, but you could do both things. You could deal with social justice and you can also play basketball. You don't need to just do one of those things. So, I feel like he needs to get back on it because he's just not playing for some reason. And that's what you get the insurance for James Harden. That's what James Harden brings to the table. He brings Kyrie Irving level talent, plus he brings just that mentality where I'm going to play every game for you. Like last season, Harden didn't even take a single break during the regular season. He's not going to miss a game unless he's injured, and Harden doesn't really get injured. He's a very durable player. Kevin Durant, same here. Doesn't really miss any games unless he's injured. I personally, like with this trade, I need to see a game because I don't really know how this team's going to work. Steve Nash as a first-year head coach. That's a lot of stress on him, managing 3 super ball-dominant stars like this. But personally, as a Nets fan, I'd actually be a little bit disappointed. I feel like Caris LeVert had a really good future here. But at the same time, I'd be happy because James Harden is another piece to negotiate Kevin Durant's future contract because obviously I think next year he gets his offseason. So James Harden is a great player to just keep in order to get Kevin Durant come back. So it was a good, but I don't think this Nets team is going to last very long, especially because it's the most toxic locker room officially in the league with Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving, great players with the maturity of kids. So, personally, I don't really know how this Nets team is going to play. I do think, talent-wise, for sure, now they're the best player. They need to figure out that center position because while they do have DeAndre Jordan, he's kind of old and he's not really that good anymore. Plus, they don't have any backup center. I really like their centers this year without this whole trade thing. I like DeAndre Jordan coming off the bench with Jarrett Allen starting. I feel like that was a really good combo. Jarrett Allen brought rebounding and defensive presence in the paint. But now I feel like I think their center is Jeff Green, which is definitely a problem. You don't want to run that small ball. It's okay, but I don't know. I feel like they have a lot of talent. So right now, in my opinion, right now with the talent they have, they're favorites to win. But overall, I don't really know how they're gonna do. But the Pacers, another team, I'm actually really excited to see them play because seeing last night how they actually played really well. So not only are they good defensively because they obviously got Brogdon, Miles Turner, both those guys can play defense. They also got some young guys who can really attack the paint and have a lot of heart. Plus adding Caris, you get a premier scorer. I honestly think the Indiana Pacers are going to be for sure, in my opinion, bold prediction. I think they're going to be a maybe even top 3 team in the East in terms of record. I'm not saying in terms of talent, but I'm saying in terms of record. So I'd actually worry about the Indiana Pacers in the East now. I think, I feel like they could put up a good fight against teams like Boston, Philly. Right now, I feel like they're probably the 4th best team in the East, with the Brooklyn Nets, Boston, Philly, and then them. because the Hawks, when they're playing to their full potential and not everyone's injured, I feel like they're really good, but who knows? And with this whole COVID thing, I don't even know what's going to happen. With George Hill's recent comments, I feel like they're kind of irresponsible, but, um, like, who knows? Like, are they going to do a bubble? Because if they don't do a bubble, I don't like the bubble concept just because I do like it in terms of safety, but I don't like it because it's just so, like, a lot of players don't come to play, and there's, like, an excuse for players to say that, oh, I didn't want to be in the bubble, so I didn't really play well, and it's just so many things that go into it when it's the bubble championship. That's why forever 2020 will be called the bubble championship. It won't be called just a normal championship. It will be called a bubble. So I honestly think this was a really crazy trade. It obviously shook up the league. Now you got another super team with Kevin Durant in it. But let's see how they do. That's going to be the video. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and then comment down below. How do you guys think the Brooklyn Nets are going to do? Do you think they're going to beat the Lakers? Because I think going into the season, obviously the Lakers are championship favorites. And how do you guys think the Pacers and the Cavs will do with their new pickups? Comment that down below. And hope you enjoyed the video. Peace.